Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining us today. My name is Jeff with Loma Homes, and I'm going to show you how to buy the ultimate vacation rental today. I'm excited to have everybody here. Thanks so much. And I have to say, there's really two questions we get the most when we do coaching and when we talk to people. First one is, how do I pick a house to buy? How do I analyze properties to make sure that I'm getting the most for my money, that I'm getting a good investment? That's probably number one. Number two is, how do you manage these properties remotely? I have to say, so all of our vacation rentals are in Florida right now. I'm in Utah and we manage these remotely. So we get that question a lot. How do you do that? And we can answer that second question for you, not in this webinar, but um, we'll definitely we definitely have that content for you. Now, I just want to kick it off. I saw this Gallup poll recently that said that 15% of people are engaged at work. Personally, that's really sad to me. That says that 85% of people are not engaged at work or would rather be doing something else. Now, why is that a big deal? Because we spend over 50% of our waking hours at work. So that's a lot of time to be spending doing something that you don't like. And what we're trying to do here in this webinar is show you the first step to getting a lifestyle that you want and really building that financial freedom. So really the question we get from a lot of people, or I guess a lot of concerns that people have, is they're like, oh, I'm not ready to quit my full-time job yet. And we get that, okay? There's no need to cut the cord. Luckily, this is a business that you can create on the side. You can really start this revenue stream and then quit when you're ready. A lot of concerns that people bring up is like, oh, I don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars. You don't need hundreds of thousands of dollars. You're going to be just fine. You do need some capital to start a business, but you don't need to be filthy rich. Another question we get a lot is, am I too late? Is it saturated already? Is the market too saturated? And the answer is no. As we're going to show you today, there's plenty of opportunities to make your lifestyle with vacation rentals. And then finally, how do I manage a property? How do I, do short-term rentals? And that's really not a problem you should have to worry about. We're going to show you that as well. Okay. Now, this is for people who are looking to start that dream lifestyle. This webinar is for people who maybe own their own real estate, or maybe one or two properties. Maybe they don't own any real estate and they just want to kind of dip their toe in this and see if it's something that might be right for them. Or maybe you own some properties and want to convert them to short-term rentals. We get that a lot. People come to us and say, hey, I have this portfolio of long-term rentals, but I want to make more money doing short-term rentals, and this can help you do that as well. So what I'll say is that there's three goals that we're going to accomplish today. Number one, we're going to learn how to pick a profitable area, okay, a profitable region anywhere in the country. Number two, we're going to learn how to pick a home inside that area. And then number three, we're going to show you how to estimate the profit in that area as well, or for that home. Now, if you're like me, you've got the ambition, you've got the skills. This was me 3 years ago. I knew I could do it. I just didn't know what the steps to take to get there. And this is going to help you take step one. Okay, we're going to give you very specific, actionable insights that you can use today to start on your vacation rental journey. Okay, now let me give you just a little background into where I came from and why I'm here today. When 3 years ago, I was working for a tech startup. That's where my background is, and this tech startup, I started with it when it was like 4 employees, and so we really grew this business to something that would be, it grew a lot faster than we thought it would. And so the software that was built for this startup wasn't intended for the kind of scale it was getting. Add on top of that most of the customers that we had were Fortune 500 companies, and they're not very patient with software glitches and slowness. And since I started early with the company, my job was to manage the customer experience. It was my job to make sure that customers are happy, and I wasn't able to do that because I was really in this hard spot. Now, the customers that we had were yelling at me almost on the daily because of the software issues that we were having. And that was taking an enormous toll on my emotional well-being. I would go home from work and I find myself being kind of a zombie. I'd try to play with my kids and be playful with them. And I couldn't even focus on what I was doing in front of me because I was so worried about work and going into work. And one day I found myself sitting in the parking lot and literally like this guy, dreading to go into the office and waiting until the very last minute. I don't know if any of you out there have been in that situation, but I sat in the parking lot for like 10 minutes, just not physically able to even pull myself into the office. And that was a turning point for me. That was when I realized something had to change. And that's when I started, buying my first vacation rental and getting things up and running. Fast forward, we are closing on our 13th property tomorrow. I don't have a boss. I don't have an 8 to 5. And I'm living the lifestyle I've always dreamed of. And so that's really the vision. That's why we want to help other people get there. There's no price that I wouldn't pay to get where I am today. You may have seen some of our properties on Insider Magazine, New York Post, Daily Mail. We've gotten a lot of media coverage with the properties that we've created, and even some viral content. So some social media posts that have gotten over 3 million views in like a week. People really like the properties that we create, and that's been a fun and rewarding process for us as well. So now I hear what you're saying. There's probably a lot of you that are like, well, I didn't have a rich daddy real estate, mogul that teaches me the ropes of real estate. You don't need that. I didn't have that either. You may be thinking, well, I don't have some kind of trust fund. I'm not a trust fund baby. I didn't get some kind of crazy inheritance, and I didn't either. So don't worry about that. You also don't need some kind of crazy business acumen to do this. To give you some context, I took the GMAT twice after many hours of study, and I didn't get a score above average. So if I can do it, you can too, I promise. So with that, let's go ahead and dive in. Let's just really get into how to pick, first of all, your area. And to do this, we're going to use a software called AirDNA. Many of you may have heard of AirDNA before. They have a paid product, but we're not going to use their paid product for the purposes of this presentation. We're going to use a free resource that they have. Now, if you go to airdna.co, you can go to their blog articles and you can find these articles. Every year they release one like this, and it says best places to invest in vacation rentals and then the year. This one we're going to go through because it says 2020 and 2021. And but let me back up. Let me just kind of explain how AirDNA works and what they do. What they do is they collect data from Airbnb and VRBO's website. They crawl the data and they estimate how much revenue each property is making. Okay. Then they take all of that, they aggregate it up, and they try to give you high-level metrics. We think AirDNA is pretty good for those high-level metrics. It starts to get a little more sketchy around the micro level when you're starting to estimate individual property revenue. We feel like there's another resource, which we're going to show you in a minute, is better than that and cheaper. So we'll show you that in a second. But for the first step, we're just going to pick our area. All right. Now, in this article, they've split it up in 3 categories. They've got up and coming markets, so small markets. They've got mid-sized markets, so markets that have maybe 100 to 1,000 rentals in them. And then they have large markets, so over 1,000 markets or 1,000 rentals in that market. Now, we like to focus on slightly larger markets. The reason for that is because typically, there's some exceptions to this, but typically these are areas that are more friendly to vacation rentals. As well as if any legislation does start to come out in these cities, you've got thousands of other owners that are going to jump in and try to fight that with you. So you're not fighting that battle alone. So you can do whatever you want, but we do recommend maybe a mid to larger market if that's something you're willing to, if you don't want to take the risk on some legislation. So in this report, let me show you how to read it. I'm going to click on this investability number because I want to sort it by investability. Here's what investability means. What AirDNA does is they take Zillow's average market value for a home, and they compare it to the average revenue you can make in that area. So what they're trying to do is estimate profitability by taking revenue, subtracting the average value of the home, and the larger number wins. Okay, so a score of 100 is the best that they can find, and we look for scores of 95 and above. That really gets you to make sure that the property you're buying is a good, profitable location. Okay, so as you look through these towns and these cities, you'll notice that some of them are actually right next to each other, which is also a good sign that there's a profitable pocket here. It's just kind of a confirmation, if you will. So like Destin, Fort Walton Beach, Santa Rosa Beach, and Panama City Beach are all within an hour's drive of each other. And that's a really good sign that that's a profitable location. For the purposes of what we're doing here, so Gatlinburg and Sevierville, those are both right next to each other. We're going to actually dig into Gatlinburg today and see if we can pick a profitable location. The reason I'm intentionally picking Gatlinburg is because I've heard a lot of people saying, oh, that the market's saturated. There are no more homes to buy there. And it's just, it can't be done. But as you'll see, that's just not the case. So we've just picked an area. Congratulations, step one is done and pretty simple, and it didn't cost us a dime. Step two is to now estimate the revenue that this area will make. For this step, we're going to use a software called Price Labs. Now, Price Labs, their main business or their core business is helping you with dynamic pricing, meaning they can actually price your vacation rental for every single day differently based on demand in that area. That's a super valuable tool. We use them and we recommend you do too. But for this purpose, we're going to use what's called their market dashboards. You just come up here to the top right, click on market dashboards, and then you create a new one. You just have to give them an address and then select a radius that you want. If you select a larger radius and you want to analyze more than 5,000 properties, then you have to pay like 20 bucks a month. But if you want something smaller, like say 1,000 properties or less, then you can just pay 10 bucks a month. You can use it 1 month and cancel. So 10 bucks is really a good price for this. For this purpose, we've already bought the dashboard. So if we come down here, I'm going to click on Gatlinburg, let that load for a minute. And what we're going to see here, once this loads, close a couple of things. Don't want to ruin the punchline for you here. And it looks like that's probably done loading. Here we go. All right. So this is their market dashboard. You'll see right off the bat, they have this bedroom filter that goes all the way up to 12 bedrooms. That's really helpful because if you're gonna look at more profitable properties, you really want to see properties that are bigger because those tend to be more profitable. And AirDNA, if you bought their data, not only is it like 3 times the price, but they only go up to 6 bedrooms, and there's like a 6+, but that's really not that helpful. So what we're gonna do is we're going to scroll down on this report. We're going to go down to where it says market summary, and we want to pull an annual revenue. We want to see what was the last 12 months of revenue in this location. And if we come up here to the top right, you can select bedroom category, and it groups the revenue into categories of bedroom size. So down below, you can see it has a 1 room, 2 bedroom, 3 to 4 bedroom, and 5 to 12 bedroom. In my opinion, I like to dive in a little bit more detail than just like a category of 3 to 4 bedrooms. I want to see what's the 3 bedroom, what's the 4 bedroom look like. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up to this bedroom filter, and we're going to drag that to 3, drag this to 6, hit apply. Now you can do this same thing. Obviously, if you just move that filter up to like 7 to 12, you can see what a 7, an 8, a 9, and a 10 bedroom all look like in revenue. For our purposes today, we're just going to grab 4 to 6 bedroom. That's probably what most of you are looking at for investment. And now we have it. So we have a 3 bedroom, 4 bedroom, 5 bedroom, and 6 bedroom. And we're going to hit this button, download CSV. Once we click on that, we'll open it up in Excel, assuming you have Excel. If you don't have Excel, that's fine. You can open up in Google Sheets. You can just upload it there. Now, when I look at this report, I'm seeing a whole ton of columns. Most of them I don't need. So now they're super helpful. If you want to look at occupancy percentages, you can look at all kinds of things here. Where I'm actually, for the purpose of this, just going to delete. I'm just going to hit the delete button here. All of that data because we don't really need it. The other thing I'm going to show you is that you can see that there's more than 12 months here. So if we aggregate all of this, we're going to get a false read of annual revenue. So I'm just going to delete these top few columns so that we get the last or the most recent 12 months. Okay. I went ahead and deleted that. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to aggregate this. I'm going to sum it all up into an annual number. Okay, so all I'm going to do is come up here to the top, I'm going to equals sum, and there we have a formula that will now sum up that. Now I'll just click and drag to get that whole column, hit enter. And what this is saying is the average, so revenue aggregate, actually we're going to delete that too because we don't need that as much. But we want the 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom, and 6-bedroom. So what I did is I summed this up. I went over here to that bottom little corner and I just dragged it over because it takes the formula and applies it to what's above it. So now I have my revenue for each of these bedroom sizes. Okay. Next up is to let's see here. Go back to our presentation. Is to calculate your max price. So now that we have the revenue, we can determine what are we willing to spend on a house for that much revenue. Okay. Now the formula is super simple, and this is the magic. Okay, this is the number you need, the golden rule, to make sure you're buying a profitable investment. Okay, you're going to take your estimated revenue, which we now have, and we're going to divide it by 0.15. We call this our 15% rule. This 15% rule is going to give you the max purchase price. All right. So we're going to go back to, we're going to go back to our revenue here. And we're going to take the revenue, we're going to divide that by 0.15. And this is going to be our max. Oops, here we go. You're all watching me, so I get nervous. All right, there's max purchase price. So we now know what we should be willing to spend on each bedroom size. Now, let me caveat here. These are averages, right? So it doesn't mean that a 4-bedroom can't make $200,000. In fact, there's some examples in this report, this Gatlinburg report I'll show you, that show you can make $200,000, even $300,000 on a 4-bedroom property. That's typically pretty rare though. So we were sticking with averages for analysis purposes. These are not, doesn't mean you can't make more with a smaller property, but that you just need to have something to make up for it, okay? So looking at this 3-bedroom property, we should be willing to spend up to 560 grand for that. And so the next step is to just go on Zillow or whatever realtor website you want to use and start looking for properties. So here we are in Zillow. We're going to type in Gatlinburg. Oops. My computer will work here. There we go. We're going to go to Gatlinburg. And here we go. So if we look at this dashboard real quick, it shows a map of the area of Gatlinburg. And the red dots are the higher average nightly rates. So that means that those properties are probably making more revenue than the green ones. Now, if you're looking at an area outside of Gatlinburg, you'll typically find pockets of red dots. And that's a good sign. You want to look. You can find a property in there that's typically a sign of demand. In this case, I don't see a lot of concentration in the red. So I think we're fairly safe to say that really anywhere around this area is going to be a decent buy, but you always want to make sure your location, you're not missing like a hot spot, so that you don't miss out on that. So let's go in here. Now, you see all these different properties, and it's really quick and easy to just kind of hover over one. Okay, here's one. It says 3-bedroom, 3-bath for $674,000. Now, it takes us 2 seconds to go back to our spreadsheet and see if that's worth our time. So 674,000, 3-bedroom, most we should be willing to pay is 560,000. So that property does not meet our threshold or our 15% rule. Okay, let's keep looking around. There's some interesting properties. You see this one, 2.5 million for 10 bedrooms. We didn't pull 10 bedrooms in here, but you totally could, and see what number it would be your max, calculate your max price and see if this would be worth your investment. Now, that's a big price, so maybe that's not something you're looking to invest in. So maybe let's look at something a little smaller. This property here, 435,000 for a 4-bedroom. Now that sounds promising. If I click on that, sure enough, $435,000 for a 4-bedroom property. If I go back to my spreadsheet, a 4-bedroom, we should be willing to pay up to $738,000 for a property in order for it to be profitable. Yeah, let me just zoom in on that. Zoom in on that a little bit so you can see it. Apologize for those. Maybe that was a little small. I'll expand this for you. Okay, so $738,000. Now, to give you an idea, if I were to calculate the percent rule on the specific property, I'm just going to plug in $435,000 here and calculate what percentage I'd be getting. So if I take the revenue and divide it by the purchase price, sorry, here we go, let's try that again. Revenue divided by purchase price, I'm getting a 25% rule on this property. At Loma Homes, we actually shoot for a 20% rule. The reason for that is because we split our profits with investors. We have a little bit more overhead because we have a larger company. And so for that reason, we actually shoot for higher. This one's hitting a 25% rule. That's pretty incredible. Now, the one caveat I will point out is that we want to make sure this 435,000 includes any rehab or staging required. Okay, so in this case, this property looks a little bit outdated. I'd recommend definitely updating this a little bit, maybe some paint touch-ups and things, but really it doesn't need a ton. You could get away with maybe 50 grand of staging and rehab and probably be pretty good. So let's say, to be safe, this is going to cost all in a $485,000 purchase price. You're still at a 23% rule. Really, you could spend up to $738,000 all in and still have a very, very profitable property. Okay, so with that, guess what? Congratulations, you have estimated your revenue. You've picked a property. This is a live property that's out there. You can go buy this today and make a killing. And now all we're going to do is estimate our profit on it. Okay. Let's see. All right. So we're going to use some general ratios here. We have some resources you can use that will allow you to get at the line level for estimating your cash flow. So you can put in everything from your utilities and your insurance and everything. For the purposes of this though, and especially if you're just looking at this to see if it's worth your time, you don't want to go through all the time plugging in every single number, doing all the research on the individual property to see if it's going to, if you're comparing properties. It's a lot of work. So what we do is we take some general high level estimations to see if this is going to be worth our time. So what we do is we take revenue and then we subtract a 33% for operating expenses. Now, operating expenses is everything it costs to run this vacation rental minus your mortgage. So that's utilities, that's insurance, that's maintenance and cleaning fees and everything, okay, in operating the vacation rental. Then you also subtract about 30% of your mortgage. Again, this is assuming you're using the 15% rule. Your mortgage should be in the 30% range of your total revenue, okay? And that gets you your estimated cash flow. Okay, so let's apply this to the deal we just analyzed. If we take that deal and we take that annual revenue and divide it by 12, we get $9,225. If we take 33% of that and subtract it for operating expenses, about $3 grand, and then you subtract another 30% for mortgage, you're getting a cash flow of $3,400. That's amazing. I don't know if for those of you in the traditional real estate game, you won't ever find a $3,400 cash flow. Okay, now that is a 37% ROI, assuming you put 25% down on that property. If you're able to get a better loan, like a 10% down for a second home or something like that, your ROI is insane. Let me give you some context. ROI stands for return on investment, and it's a number you can use to compare against other types of investment. So to give you some context, let's assume you invested 100 grand in the stock market, okay? On average, stock market performs at about 9% a year on average. That's the equivalent of about $750 per month. If you invest in a 401k and get a 100% employer match, well, maybe it's double that. Great. You get a $1,500 a month on average. Now, typically, traditional real estate will beat both of those because you have the appreciation value on the asset. So you're typically getting about a 12% return. So better than stock market, usually better even than 401k. So the fact that you're getting 37% ROI on a vacation rental is like literally it's 3 times what you would get on the best alternative, which is like a traditional real estate investment. And what that means is that you get to retire 3 times sooner than if you invested in a traditional real estate. Okay, so we just showed you how to find a property. Next, you're going to need to finance that property. You're going to need to rehab it. You're going to need to stage that property, and we're going to need to host that property. We've only shown you the first step, and we can't use this whole video or this one video to show you all the steps to it. For that purpose, we've created Loma Vacation Academy. It is the ultimate guide to profitable vacation rentals. Now, that might seem like an assuming statement, the ultimate guide, but let me show you why we say that. This was 1 month of cash flow for the 6 properties that we owned in July. Okay, 1 month cash flow, not revenue, cash flow. We are good at what we do. We know how to not only purchase properties right, we know how to rehab them right, we know how to find them, we know how to optimize them for optimal revenue, and we know how to pull a lot of cash flow out of these properties. And so that's why we're confident in saying that this is the ultimate guide to profitable vacation rentals. So in order to do that, the course has 8 different modules. It has 40 plus lessons, 20 plus downloadable resources. I think it's over 6 hours of video training. And we have an exclusive Facebook group we can give you access to. And there's a live Q&A that we do once a week to make sure that you're getting handheld all along the way. Now, we really wanted to, as we started our own journey, we made a lot of mistakes. We learned a lot of things, and we had maybe a slower growth curve or learning curve than we could have had if we'd had someone mentoring us along the way. So we feel like we know that we can save people a lot of time, we can save people a lot of money. We can help them avoid stress by doing it right the first time and not making expensive mistakes. And they can rest easy knowing that they have an expert helping them along the way. Now, I've seen a lot of vacation rental courses out there, and I'm not, and I don't want to knock on any of those. I think there's a lot of really good resources out there. But what I've noticed is that a lot of them are focused on, getting a vacation rental. They're not focused on helping you scale and build a lifestyle that you're looking for. Meaning that if you do just what they tell you to do, you're going to end up answering guest messages at 1 a.m. And that's a step backwards in your lifestyle. That's really not helping you forward. And we've done this at scale. We're doing this currently. Our main business is vacation rentals. It's not main business, the old adage, those that can't do teach. We're doing and we're teaching on the side. And so I think that's something that separates us and makes us unique. So to give you a little more detail on the course, module 1 is all about picking the right location. So we've gone into a lot of that today. We go into a little bit more detail in our course, but we want to make sure that you can buy confidently and estimate profit well. Our second module helps people acquire the property. So the process of finding, getting a good realtor, getting offers that are competitive and that you can negotiate well. That's all part of module 2. And then module 3 is super important because when we first started out, we didn't really know how we were going to scale. We didn't know that we could get commercial level loans. We didn't know that we could get banks that would lend on vacation rentals, and we've learned all of those ropes along the way. In addition, we like I mentioned before, we use investor financing, so using other people's money so that you can scale the business and it's not determined by or limited by your own debt to income ratio, things like that. Now, I have to say, module 4, if that was all we gave you, it would probably be worth the money. But my partner, Brindy, is absolutely incredible. She has been flipping properties, dozens of properties for the last decade. And she has learned all of the tips and tricks to make sure that you manage your contractors well, to make sure that you are protecting yourself. She has templates and things to use for scopes of work and contracts and all of those things to make sure this is done right the first time. This really can eat your lunch if you don't do it right. And if you, we've made our own very expensive mistakes in this process, and we want to help you avoid those. Module 5 is all about hosting your property. There's a lot of things to learn when it comes to hosting an Airbnb. Everything from what type of cancellation policy should you have to how should you optimize revenue? How do you stand out in a listing so that you're showing up first and things like that. Those are all very big, important steps. How to make sure you have the right cleaners and the right maintenance people, and that's all an automated process. Okay? Module 6 is all about marketing. So we help you market not only on the listings, but strategies you can use to market on your own website as well. And then module 7 is all about positioning your property to sell. Not that you would ever really want to sell it if you're making over $3,000 a month, but if you did, there's strategies you can use to make sure that you're getting top dollar for your investment, because you've added value into your property by creating revenue and profit, and just selling it as a residential value, it really diminishes your potential return. So if you need help with that, that's something that we can do as well. And then last but not least, we go through a whole accounting module to make sure that you are doing this correctly. People get really overwhelmed and stressed out about the accounting piece and making sure that they're reporting well with the IRS. We have a ton of tips and tricks to everything from the type of software that we recommend you use to the processes that will allow you to scale your business and make sure that you're doing it right from an accounting perspective. So if all this course did was help you save 1% on a home purchase, that would be $4,300 in savings. Okay, if that's all it did. Now, if it helped you buy one more home from our financing module, because you could buy one more home that you didn't have from financing that you didn't know was available, that would get you another $3,400 a month in cash flow. If it kept you from hiring one bad contractor, which by the way would have saved us about 40 grand, would save you at least 10. Okay. If all it did was help you optimize your bookings by 10%, that'd give you another 11 grand in your pocket. And if all it did was keep you from getting in trouble with the IRS, well, that's priceless. The level of stress involved with the IRS and dealing with that is just a nightmare. So really, you've probably heard of the 10,000 hour rule, which is, you need 10,000 hours to become an expert in something. We believe that we can expedite that by using our 10,000 hours. We've spent at least 10,000 hours becoming an expert in this, and we feel like we can give that back to people. You can either spend it yourself or you could buy someone else's. And so that's why we have come up with this course. Now, I wish so badly that I had a course like we have. There really wasn't anything like this when we started our journey, and it would have saved us hundreds of thousands if we had known what we know now when we started. So the question is, how much would you spend for this course? What would it be worth to you to have the financial freedom that you're looking for? We're selling this course for a one-time payment of $999. We obviously don't want to price it so high that people can't afford it, but we also want to make sure that it's high enough that we get serious people wanting to invest. We're obviously giving our time and effort into making sure people succeed, and we want to make sure people are truly invested in it. Now, that said, we are offering a code for viewers of this webinar, 25% off, which gets you the whole course, all 8 modules, for $749. So with that, you can buy the course at www.lomavacationacademy.com, and you can purchase that today and start your journey of financial freedom. So with that, why don't we go ahead and open up for Q&A, and we can answer any questions that people have, and I'll open up that here in a bit. All right, So first question I'm seeing here is, if we get the course, how much personal contact will we have with you and the other co-owners? Great question. So we will have a Facebook page that we will answer and that we can help people answer their questions. But then once a week, every Wednesday in the morning, we get on a call and we answer whatever question you guys have. And that's a call with myself and or Brindy, who is the design genius behind the properties that we have built. So I hope that answers your question. Let's see, do you account for the market differences in 2020 due to COVID? Let's see. Market differences in 2020 due to COVID. I'm not sure I totally understand the question, but there are, what we've noticed, the impact that we've seen with COVID is that some areas blew up and just went crazy, and some areas died, like Hawaii died, right? The regulations killed them. But for drivable destinations, those exploded. So what I expect to happen is two things. Number one, any drivable vacations are probably going to come down a little bit. So Gatlinburg might see a little bit of a downturn from 2020. I think 2020 was a boom. And then like Orlando and Hawaii are probably going to see an uptick in that. The other thing that we saw from COVID is that Airbnb, or I should say the vacation rental market overall, exploded when compared to hotels. So vacation rentals stole enormous amount of market share from hotels. If you look at the revenue of Marriott and Hilton, they're still down from 2019. If you compare 2019 to now, whereas Airbnb is up a lot, like over 6% in revenue from 2019, pre-COVID. Okay, so this is a really good time to get into vacation rentals, and I hope that answers your question. If not, feel free to put another one in there. Other question is this a good part-time option? Yes, I would say it is. I actually bought my first vacation rental while I was working at my last company, and even though it was really, that full-time job demanded a lot of me, I was still able to manage a vacation rental on the side. And it's a really good way to kind of dip your toe in the water, make sure that you like it before you jump all the way in like we've done. So that hope that helps. Does your course cover how you manage from a distance? Yes, we cover that. We actually encourage people to manage from a distance because it forces you to build a scalable process. If you're next to your property, there's a tendency to just be like, oh, I'll just run over there real quick and fix that leaky sink or faucet. Versus if it's in Florida and you're in Utah, you got to hire somebody to take care of those things. You've got to have processes in place to take care of them. And that creates a distance from your business so that you can focus on your lifestyle and the business can do its own thing. And we cover how to do all of that. We've learned a lot about that, and this is more detail than you asked for, but during the labor shortage that we're in, we've learned that how to create processes that work every time, because we had cleaners that weren't really doing their job. They're starting to charge more because they knew they could, and we're starting to get complaints from guests, and so we really had to create some accountability processes that we can help you with as well to make sure that you're getting good quality work every time. So yes, we do cover that in our course. Let's see, how much money do you need to start your first Airbnb? Do you show that in the course? Yes. So it all depends on the price of the property. It depends on your financing options that you've chosen. I would say you can get into your first one pretty cheaply. A lot of banks have what's called a vacation home loan, and that's a 10% down loan. You can buy that anywhere. And if you get, let's say, that home we just looked at, let's say it's $435,000, that means your down payment would only be about 43 grand. Let's say you threw another 20 to 30 grand in staging, you're all in at 40 to 70 grand. And you could be up and running with, let's say, at 40 to 70 grand, and then you put in, let's say you're making 3 grand in cash flow, it's like 3,500 in cash flow. So if you actually did that, let's say worst case 70 grand, you'd be making an ROI of, let's see, I think I did that wrong. Oh, I got to times that by 12. Yeah, I mean, the ROI on that's just insane. 60% ROI. Yeah, so that's a good option to go with. Any other questions? Okay. Looks like we're starting to wrap up those questions. Let's see. Perfect. Again, thanks so much for joining us today. We've recorded this webinar and we'll be sending out the recording to everyone. So awesome. Thanks, Jordan. Appreciate you joining us today. We'll see everybody later, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Thanks so much.